Hello there. If you're interested in learning about how payroll withholding tax is calculated for the state of Idaho, beautiful state that I have driven through. I drove through Washington State and Oregon and Idaho a few years ago in a convertible Audi. It was gorgeous. It's beautiful in the summertime. I love that area. And so I was asked to do a payroll file for Idaho and Washington. Washington's very easy because there's no state tax in Washington State, but there is in Idaho. And this payroll application is something I built that you can purchase for $100 if you have a small business. This thing can hold up to 50 employees, but it can even hold more. And it's really easy to use. I'm going to show you how to use it as well as go over how Idaho state tax is calculated. So some information you're going to need for Idaho is their unemployment wage base is $40,000. You're going to get a rate assigned to you by the state. You would put it there. You're going to go through your employee information, put down however many federal allowances they have, whether or not they're married or not, their Idaho W-4 allowances, which you can fill out and find out what that is, put in name, address, stuff like that. Then you go to an hour sheet over here and you can choose their name from a drop-down menu like this, and you can put whatever day it is and however many hours or overtime hours or holiday hours they had for that day. All that stuff's going to carry through and come through onto this weekly data sheet that has all the records of the employees. If you were to look at all employees for just this very first pay period, you can click these filters here and choose that first pay period of the 5th. And you would get all your employees over here. And you'd start to see what all their information is, how many hours they had. The stuff in dark blue is automatically populated for you. You then put in information like their hourly rate. That's a lot there. Let's lower the hourly rate a little bit. If they had any salary or bonus for the period, if they have any reimbursements, if they have any garnishments or anything like child support, whatever it is, you put that there. And what you end up getting is you information about their gross wages. It's automatically calculated for you. And here's where we get to the information about Idaho's withholding rates. In order to calculate Idaho's withholding rates, you need to know what your taxable gross is, which is what we figured out right here already. You're going to have to subtract from it the number of Idaho allowances, which were filled out on that Idaho W-4 that's right there. It's going to be times an allowance amount, which is hiding over here, called for the weekly pay period. This is a weekly file. There are also applications for biweekly or semi-monthly or monthly payers, different than weekly, but this is just a weekly formula and weekly file. So we're going to go over the weekly rates, and that was the weekly standard allowance for Idaho that we just saw at $56. So you multiply that, you get your Idaho taxable wages here when you subtract those allowances times the allowance amount. Then you have to do two different formulas to figure out what the tax would be if the person's single or if they're married, because that matters in the choice that we made over here. And it's a different rate. And what it is, it's this picture here. I grabbed it from the Idaho State Tax website where you can get all the information about this. And I have links up here above where you can go and go get the W-4s and look at the rates and things like that if you need that. But the way to write this formula in here is it's called a nested if formula, essentially. And it just has a lot of ifs where I'll paste this in the comments so that you don't have to type it from reading the screen if you're going to be using this. But you just need to go and say if the amount of taxable gross wages in Idaho is less than this certain amount, then you multiply a residual amount by a tax amount. And that's what these ifs, if less than this, do this to it, multiply it by that. If less than this, add this. And that's how you formulate this. If then you do it one for married, one for single, and then this pulls out and uses the correct one for your pay stubs, which we can go to now. And you can see all your pay stubs and pay periods by toggling your pay periods up here and toggling the name of your employee right here. And you're going to see what your taxes are. That employee is in Washington State, but this one's in Idaho. And everything fills out automatically. You also have an area here where you could use this to print checks if you want to line this up with your checks and print them. You also have 941 reports that you need to file quarterly for the federal government and make your deposits. This reconciles that automatically. You just change the quarter and it gives you the information for that quarter. You have unemployment reports. These are pivot tables that you need to refresh, but if you just right click and refresh them, they're going to change and they're going to show you what unemployment tax you would have to pay based on the unemployment tax rates here from this sheet, the employee info master sheet. and you have a W-2 set up. You can change the name here, and you're going to see different information about W-2s for filling out and filing those online at the end of the year. Small business, you can do it all yourself. You don't have to have any accountant do it. You just do it all yourself. And there's also a state tax report that you can open up by employee and by month and see what you owe, what the withholdings are for different states. There's obviously no state tax in Washington, but there is state tax here in Idaho that would be due. And you can use all these different pivot slicers to toggle around and make your reports dynamic so that you don't have to fill them out by hand all the time. So that was almost 5 minutes, a little bit more, but that's how you do tax in Idaho. Figure out what your taxable gross is, then you figure out what your Idaho taxable gross is by subtracting out the allowances times the allowance amount for the pay period that you're talking about. And then you use this nested if formula to apply it to your taxable wages, and you get your tax for married or single head of household. So there you go. Payroll should be easy. And if you're interested in purchasing one of these packages, I'm going on a tear and I'm doing a video as frequently as I can to get through every single state that I haven't done yet so that I have a file ready to go for every single state. So you can expect a lot of payroll videos and finding out where the cheapest and most expensive places to live are when it comes to state tax. So there you go. Oh yeah, one other thing, the range here is from 0 to almost 7%, 6.925%, and that's both applied to that's just the highest rate that they have. So it's just a layered rate from that. So if you're in Idaho, you're not going to get taxed more than 7% on your income. Um, but a lot of people seem to get pushed into that higher bracket based on what I'm seeing here. So anyway, we're out for now. Payroll should be easy. You should make it so.